I want to ask you guys this because
Surprised you didn't do that yet.
Everybody that I seem to talk to about Super Bowl 57, who you're rooting for, and I've said this in the past too, I think this has been a little bit of a mundane Super Bowl week because both teams are so evenly matched. Both teams are very likable. Both teams have players that you want to win. Both teams, you have a story that you want to see followed through with. But everybody still comes to the conclusion that I talk to anyway, that the Eagles are the better team and they're going to win. Except me. I think the Chiefs are going to win. We'll do our picks, and I'm not talking about that right now, but there is a reason that Philly fans and Philadelphia Eagles players should be concerned, Braylon, correct?
100%. I mean, you look at it, and I think it's two great teams. They both deserve to be here. Jalen Hurts leads the Eagles. Patrick Mahomes leads the Kansas City Chiefs. God bless you over there. But when you really peel back the layers, Maz, you and I kind of talked about this as the playoffs have been going on, Ryan, you as well. Look at the NFC. Look at the NFC. Look at the road to the Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles. They play the Giants for the third time. They play a 49ers team, which we thought was going to be an amazing contest with their fourth-string quarterback. Hell, Christian McCaffrey was the quarterback for the 49ers at one point. Then it makes you go back and look at the NFC versus the AFC as a whole. So much is made in college football. It's like the road to the national championship. You look at the SEC and you say, well, shoot, the SEC, they got to play. Ole Miss is just as good. Arkansas is just as good. Don't forget Georgia and Alabama. You get Kentucky down the line. So by the time they get to the national championship, they're battle tested. You look at their battle tested. When they get there, they know how to respond in the second half of a game. They know how to respond with the game on the line versus the Big Ten. Big Ten, you laugh at the schedule all year that Michigan played, all the way to TCU. You even laughed at TCU, and which Michigan lost to. And then Michigan got to a spot and they weren't ready. That's how I kind of look at it this year. You look at the NFC, look at the road. And I stole this off the TV. I stole this from Colin in terms of the teams, the quarterbacks. Look at what the Eagles have been up against. Daniel Jones, 3 times. Josh Johnson, Ryan Tannehill, Matt Ryan, Taylor Heineke, Davis Mills, Cooper Rush, Kyler Murray at the end who was terrible, Justin Fields, Andy Dalton. They've played a bunch of terrible quarterbacks.
That is bad.
They've played a bunch of terrible teams. They played a bunch of horrible teams. Like, how good is this team really? But then you look on the other side and what the Chiefs have been through. They've been through the Bengals. They've been through a hard Jacksonville team that came back against the Chargers. They've been through that AFC gauntlet all season. Are the Eagles really, really, really prepared for Patrick Mahomes? Because when I look at that list of quarterbacks, ain't nobody on there close to how good Patrick Mahomes and his offense is, not to mention how much they're underscoring how good that defense is, led by Chris Jones, who was up for Defensive Player of the Year. So when I look at it, has Philly played enough games against comparable opponents to be ready to play against this Kansas City Chiefs team? Just a question.
That was well said. Now I'm going to tell you, the Philadelphia Eagles are the real deal. Yeah. And I personally think if you put them right next to the Chiefs, and we put their stats up, and there you go again, Fletch put them up. They're identical stat-wise, except Philadelphia has got 15 more sacks as a team than the next closest competitor. Yeah. They have Jalen Hurts, who we don't know if he's 100%. You get that shoulder injury, and it's on his throwing arm. We don't know if he's 100%. Then you got Patrick Mahomes with the bad ankle on the other side. But if you put these teams next to each other, I really believe Philadelphia has got them beat. But Kansas City has Kelsey, and they have Patrick Mahomes. And I think that will be the difference in the game. But if you put these two teams together next to each other, I give the edge to Philly still, right?
I think both these teams are so evenly matched, and they both do. It's like good on good, right? I mean, you look at Mahomes and Kelsey, and then you look at some of the guys that are going to be, Valdez-Scantling and Sky
secondary
Moore,
players,
Juju Smith-Schuster on the outside. I mean, you're talking about friggin' Darius. First of all, the Eagles get to the quarterback. That's one.
Yeah.
And so Patrick Mahomes, how is that ankle? Is he going to be able to run around and keep plays alive? That's one. Mm-hmm. 2, is Darius Slay going to take half the field away? Because these wide receivers for the Chiefs are nobodies.
No.
I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster, Valdez-Scantling, Sky Moore. I don't want to call them nobodies. That's not fair. But none of them are number one receivers to go up against a guy one-on-one with Darius Slay. Is that fair to say?
No, 100%. Right now, they don't have a current number one on their team. They're trying to hope that Montez Valdez-Scantling, which we'll get into the X's and O's and who needs to be the breakout player for them to win, or who needs to be the if you will, you get what I'm talking about, the unsung hero. But, Darius Slay can match up against any number one in the NFL. They don't have any of those. You look at the other side, they're just as good. You look at it in the linebacker, Nick Bolton, they're really good up there. They match well, and Maz brought up a good point. That's why I said, should we be scared? Well, Maz, you kind of answered it in great fashion, saying, look at their stats. You look at their their defensive line, Josh Sweat. You look at Brandon Graham. You look at Robert Quinn. You look at what they've done. You look at Hassan Reddick and Ndamukong Suh. There's a reason.
Look at the back end with Gardner Johnson and Bradbury and Slay.
Bradbury.
I mean, come on.
They're loaded.
And it's crazy because we've been talking about Brandon. This is what talent does. And this is the reason why the Buffalo Bills went and got Von Miller from the Rams. This is because great players make players better. Look at Brandon Graham. He's always been a damn good player for the Eagles. Made huge plays when they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, making the play, sack fumble against Tom. He's always floated around 5 sacks, 6 sacks. I think when he made the Pro Bowl, he was 8.5 sacks in 2015 or 16. He had 11 sacks this year. You know why? It's because the teammates around him made him step his game up. That defense, Maz, you point out, they are the real deal.
They are, man.
They are the real deal.
They're scary. I mean, you've been on the Philly wagon all year. We're the one that have been trying to knock you off the Philly wagon all year. We had San Francisco. Well, they took care of them. Now they get Kansas City. I don't think it's the same Kansas City team that we've seen over the years. And I believe the Bengals would have been a better match against Philadelphia than Kansas City. That said, if Patrick Mahomes is okay, makes it through the game, I think him and Kelsey will somehow figure a way to win this game.
Yeah, the only difference about like the Bengals versus the Chiefs, they got Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes is that guy.
You talk about good on good in the regular season. The Chiefs were the number one passing offense. The Eagles were number one in sacks. So, what's going to give? Something has to give in that case. And I go back to this. I mean, how healthy is Patrick Mahomes? The other side, Jalen Hurts, is not healthy either.
He's got a bad shoulder.
He hasn't completed a pass further than 15 yards all postseason. That's 2 games. Not completing one pass.
He didn't have to.
Beyond 15 yards. Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah,
because you talk about the speed that they have with Devontae Smith on the outside.
Yeah, when you're talking about the difference in injuries, you're talking about a knee. You're talking about a shoulder.
I take that back. The 4th down play again with Devontae Smith
on the left-hand side.
The one that shouldn't have been a catch.
The one that shouldn't have been a catch.
Yeah, you're talking about bone versus ligament. You're talking about the ligament damage to the shoulder, and that's not necessarily going to get progressively better from the time that it happened into the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, a high ankle sprain is going to get better. The process for a high ankle sprain, you wake up 6 a.m., you're getting treatment at 6 a.m., you're icing, you're stim, you're heating, you're doing your drills, you're doing your exercise. That gets better. That gets better over time. Look at the difference in when he was limping to a week later when he played in the AFC Championship. You think that's not going to get better from 2 weeks out? His ankle is going to be a lot better. That shoulder, we don't know what's going to happen when Jalen Hurts is going to have to force a 40-yard pass down the field. What if he has to really throw one from one side to the other side where it tears on it or it pulls on it? We really don't know how bad that shoulder is. We hope for the best because I don't want to see an NFC Championship round again. I don't want to see another week like that, another game like that.
Have you ever seen a game like this that's gotten, I bring it up again, you really don't hear about the Super Bowl. I have not really heard. Remember how we always used to be fatigued for the first 2 weeks?
Everything's so vanilla.
We're not hearing anything. We're not seeing the spread hasn't moved. It's 1.5.
Ticked up a little bit on the over. Ticked up a little bit.
It's 51, right?
It's now 51. It was at 50.5.
But the number 1.5. Philadelphia has the favorite still, and they are the home team. They're going to wear the green. Kansas City will wear the white. First time in the Super Bowl that they'll wear the white. So we'll see how it goes. But it's rare that a number don't move at all in 2 weeks.
I just don't think people know how to evaluate it because, people don't know how to evaluate the 2 quarterbacks and their health, Braylon. And I don't know if people really know how to evaluate, Philadelphia and their trek to the Super Bowl, as you had just mentioned. I just don't think they know how to evaluate it. And then you go on emotion too. So many people, most people bet with emotion.
Yeah.
Right. You have very little emotion.
I don't have any. I can't believe it.
Very little emotional connection to either of these teams. Because I still sit here on, if you're watching live, it's Friday, February 10th at 2:27 p.m. If you're watching live. As I sit here right now, I am uncommitted on a team I'm rooting for. Who I want to win. Now, I think Kansas City is probably going to win because I think Mahomes is. I usually go with the best quarterback on the field when I pick. But I don't know if I even want that to happen because I look at Jalen Hurts' story and all, you know what I mean? Like, how do you root against that guy? Yeah. If you anticipate one of these quarterbacks getting back to a Super Bowl, who would it be? Probably Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. Unless you look at the NFC and you're like, man, these Eagles are pretty damn good. I don't think anybody can match them in the NFC right now. So I'm not so sure that's actually true.
Yeah, I think part of it is you look at the teams are evenly matched. You look how good the offensive line is for both teams. You look at how good the defensive line is for both teams. Look how good the quarterbacks, the offense, everything damn near matches up the same. Mass put the stats up via Fletch. He put the stats up and they're evenly matched all the way down. Now, the other thing about the Super Bowl and why it's vanilla, okay, is when you look back at the Super Bowls of the past, there's always a storyline. There's always somewhere you can find a storyline that's fun. I mean, you look at last year, you got Cincinnati Bengals in last place, not supposed to be there, playing against Matt Stafford. Who the hell would have thought Matt Stafford would be in the Super Bowl? I mean, the year before that, you look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady's the GOAT. First year in Tampa, playing against Patrick Mahomes, his heir apparent. I mean, you go back to the Super Bowl before that. You got Tom Brady playing against Jared. There's always a storyline. There's always somewhere for you to find a storyline, or for you to find some players that say something, give you some storyline material for the whole week of practice. There's been none of that. There is no storyline here. I mean, the storyline is how did Jalen Hurts work so hard to get to this point? But that's not the storyline. The storyline is Jalen Hurts had a damn good year. He finished second in running for MVP. The number one guy is on the other side. This is an evenly matched team. Evenly matched game, no storyline on either side. It's just who's the best team.
There's no hate.
And it's also no surprise. You're looking at the number one team from this side made it. The number one team from this side made it. The one guy on this tab finished runner-up. The guy on this team finished, he won. Chris Jones finished runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year on the other side. So it's like that where you're just waiting to see it happen.
Hey, coming up next, we're going to be joined by Ari.